Seeds of Freedom, the Revolutionary War. When shots rang out at Lexington and Concord in 1775, the American Revolution began. It was a fight for liberty from the British Crown. But for thousands of black men, both free and enslaved, the Revolution posed an impossible question: what does liberty mean for me? Many chose to fight on the side of the Patriots. Among them was Peter Salem, an enslaved man who earned his freedom by enlisting. At the Battle of Bunker Hill, Salem fired the shot that killed a British major, turning the tide of the fight. Another, Salem Poor, fought so bravely that 14 officers petitioned Congress to reward him for his heroism. Others, however, chose a different path. The British promised freedom to enslaved men who fought for the crown. Thousands seized the chance, escaping plantations and joining British regiments. For them, loyalty wasn't about politics, it was about survival. The Revolutionary War ended with the birth of a new nation. But for most black soldiers, the promises of freedom and equality went unfulfilled. Some gained emancipation, many did not. Still, their presence on those battlefields planted a seed that would grow into a centuries-long struggle for justice. Torn loyalties. The Civil War. 80 years later, America faced its greatest internal crisis, the Civil War. At its heart was slavery, the very system that denied black people their humanity. When war broke out in 1861, the Union was hesitant to arm black men. But as the conflict dragged on, it became clear the war could not be won without them. Over 180,000 black soldiers eventually served in the Union Army. Another 20,000 joined the Navy. Together they made up about 10% of Union forces. Perhaps the most famous unit was the 54th Massachusetts Regiment. Composed mostly of free black men, they led the assault on Fort Wagner in South Carolina. Under heavy fire, they charged bravely, suffering massive casualties. Their sacrifice proved once and for all that black soldiers would fight, and die, for freedom. One soldier wrote, "We have done a great work. We have proved to the world that we are men." But service came at a price. Black soldiers often received lower pay than their white counterparts. They were given the most dangerous, grueling assignments. If captured by Confederate forces, they risked execution or re-enslavement. Still, their courage shifted the course of the war. As Frederick Douglass famously declared, "Once let the black man get upon his person the brass letters US, let him get an eagle on his button, and there is no power on earth that can deny that he has earned the right to citizenship." The Civil War ended with the Union's victory and the abolition of slavery. But the road to true equality was only beginning. Buffalo Soldiers, defending the frontier. After the Civil War, America turned westward. In the deserts, plains, and mountains of the frontier, a new chapter unfolded. Here, black soldiers, many of them former slaves, served in segregated regiments that came to be known as the Buffalo Soldiers. The nickname, given by native tribes, was both a mark of respect and a symbol of resilience. These soldiers fought in brutal conditions, against native warriors, against outlaws, and against the unforgiving wilderness. They built roads, guarded settlers, and enforced order in the expanding nation. Their service was full of contradictions. On one hand, they were among the most disciplined and decorated units in the U.S. Army. On the other, they were tasked with subduing native tribes, another people fighting desperately to hold on to their land and freedom. Despite the hardships, Buffalo Soldiers left a lasting legacy. They protected national parks, escorted wagon trains, and became symbols of endurance. They proved that black soldiers were not only capable of fighting wars, but also of building and defending a nation. Forgotten heroes of World War I. When the First World War erupted in 1914, the world plunged into chaos. By 1917, when the United States entered the war, black men were eager to serve. More than 350,000 African Americans donned the uniform. But racism followed them into the trenches. Most were relegated to labor units, digging ditches, unloading supplies, building roads. But a few, like the Harlem Hellfighters of the 369th Infantry Regiment, were given a chance to fight. These men served under French command because many American officers refused to lead them. In combat, they shattered every prejudice. The Hellfighters spent more time on the front lines than any other American unit, 191 continuous days under fire. They never lost a man to capture, and they never lost an inch of ground. Their bravery earned them France's highest military honors. Yet when they returned home, they faced the same old segregation, violence, and humiliation. Their heroism abroad was celebrated in Europe, but denied in their own country. World War I showed the world their courage, but it also exposed the hypocrisy of American democracy. World War II, double victory. The 1940s brought the deadliest conflict in human history, World War II. Once again, black soldiers lined up to serve. But this time, a movement began, the WWII campaign, victory against fascism abroad, and victory against racism at home. In the skies of Europe, the Tuskegee Airmen, the first black military aviators, proved themselves beyond doubt. Flying escort missions, they protected bombers with unmatched precision. Their red-tailed planes became a symbol of excellence. On the ground, the 761st Tank Battalion, known as the Black Panthers, tore through Nazi lines in France and Germany. General Patton himself praised their courage. Yet segregation remained. Black nurses were not allowed to treat white soldiers. Black servicemen were often restricted to menial labor. Still, their sacrifice helped change history. In 1948, President Harry Truman signed Executive Order 9981, officially desegregating the U.S. military. For the first time, black and white soldiers would serve side by side. Korea and Vietnam, still fighting two battles. In Korea, the newly integrated military was tested. Black soldiers fought valiantly, proving that desegregation was not only possible, it was powerful. But in Vietnam, the story grew more complicated. Black soldiers made up a disproportionate share of combat troops, often sent to the front lines. They fought bravely in the jungles, but back home, the civil rights movement was raging. Imagine fighting in the rice paddies of Vietnam, while knowing your family in America was being denied the right to vote, denied entry into schools, denied the simple dignity of equality. For many, the war in Vietnam became a mirror, showing the contradictions of a nation that asked for sacrifice abroad, while denying justice at home. Modern warriors, from Desert Storm to today. By the late 20th century, black soldiers had risen into every rank of the military. In the Persian Gulf War, in Iraq, in Afghanistan, they served as generals, pilots, medics, and leaders. Figures like General Colin Powell, who rose to become chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, showed that the highest levels of military leadership were no longer out of reach. Today, black men and women in uniform continue to defend the nation, carrying forward a legacy forged in sacrifice. From the Revolutionary War to the present, they have stood on the front lines of freedom, even when that freedom was denied to them. The legacy of sacrifice. The story of black soldiers is not just a military story, It is a story of courage, endurance, and unshakable hope. They fought in every war America has ever known. They defended a flag that often refused to defend them. And yet they believed in the promise of America, even when America had not yet fulfilled it. Their blood is woven into the fabric of this nation. Their names may not always appear in history books, but their sacrifices echo in every liberty we enjoy today. To tell the story of America without them is to tell only half the truth. To every black soldier who fought, who bled, and who still serves, we honor you. You are America's unbreakable spirit. Thank you for joining us for Black soldiers who fought for America's freedom. If this story moved you, share it. Keep it alive. Because history only remembers those who refuse to be forgotten. If you like this video, then don't forget to like this video and subscribe my channel.